Hello, fellow patriots. It's me, Patriots Republic. It is June 3rd, 2011. The last video I made was in response to a liberal basically saying that if we who are supporting small government and limited government, if we ever were to make any kind of headway, if we were ever able to make any kind of wins in the courts, they would elect people that would reverse it by law, and that he said if we ever made any wins that seemed to be permanent, that they would take up arms against us, or that they would try to basically fight us with weapons, with guns. They would come after us. And then that was what prompted that video. Now on to other things. I was watching Demcad's video, and he was talking about unemployment hitting a new, going up again, and underemployed people and that kind of stuff. And I think that all these numbers that he's getting are disturbing. The housing market has taken a huge dip. The second stage of the recession, the second dip of the recession is happening. All the numbers that were posted that were supposed to be positive in nature were hiding the real recession that's happening right now. Now, for example, we're not going to see any kind of uptick in our employment numbers or in the housing numbers, and the commercial real estate market, it has been going down for a long time. A lot of banks, because of the bailouts, a lot of banks have been able to hold on to properties and not sell properties at their depreciated value. Which means they are able to, and they don't have to market, which is bad. They don't have to mark all of their, because if they did, we'd see the real economy. We'd see the real economy if they had to market, if they couldn't keep these fake assets on the books. We would see the real economy. There would be a lot more banks going out of business, as they should. There would be a lot more people losing their savings and losing their investments, as they should. There would be a lot more companies filing for bankruptcy and being split up, as they should. You know, all these banks out there that are holding these assets that they can't really afford, or that are not worth what they say they are on the books, would be broken up. You know, people are talking about these too big to fails. Well, there's no such thing as too big to fail. You know, nothing is too big to fail. Everything can and will fail at one point. Okay? This government is not too big to fail. This government is going to fail very soon. And unfortunately, if we don't free the market, if we don't unshackle the market, we are going to have some serious issues. Now, Demcad was talking about there's a move in Congress to reinstitute the Glass Steagall Act. Well, I think that that's a big mistake. I think the Glass Steagall Act was a huge mistake. I think we need to let the market sort itself out. You know, there are going to be people, you know, when they see how risky these banks are and how risky these investment banks are, there are going to be people who don't want to put their money in an investment bank. They would rather put their money in a bank where it has almost zero interest, but it just keeps their money for them. Compared to an investment bank that may give 2 or 3% interest, but also has the risk of failing. So there are going to be banks that are just vaults, you know, and then there are going to be banks that are investment banks, and there'll be all in between. There'll be complete, total 100% investment banks and complete 100% vault banks. But the market is going to make that happen, not government. No amount of government meddling is going to do anything to change that. Now, what we have to understand is that loss and suffering is all a part of life. When you make stupid decisions and you make, people, you and other people who you control their money are going to be affected by that. So Glass Steagall was a bad idea, and a new Glass Steagall is a bad idea. What we need to do is stop bailing out these banks. You know, they repealed Glass Steagall, but then they bailed out the banks who made all these stupid decisions. They should have let Bank of America go bankrupt and had its branches bought out. They should have let Goldman Sachs and all of these other banks go bankrupt and be bailed out by smaller entrepreneurs who said, hey, you know, I can start a regional bank, and we can say we're going to get rid of, we're only going to buy the savings portion of the bank. We are going to charge the people who want a savings bank, who want a vault bank. We're going to charge them money to keep their money in our bank. We're not going to use their money unless they sign a waiver that says we can lend their money, and then we'll give them interest on that money. So, and we will use, you know, like you can have really simple, what we call local banks who loan money to local respected businessmen and entrepreneurs, trusted by the bank, who use their own kind of risk assessment for the loans that they give out. Now, granted, these kind of banks, it'll be almost impossible to get a loan if you're a newcomer or if you have no track record. You know, first businesses always have got to be started by, you know, investments of friends and family. That's pretty much it. You know, as far as if I were a banker, I would never loan to you if you'd never run a business before. However, if you come to me and you want to start another business, and you had just sold a business that you had run successfully for 5 or 10 years, I would consider all of the weights and measures of my risk analysis. And I would decide from that whether or not I could trust you. And I would also want to basically go out and interview other businessmen in the community to see whether or not your new business would be something that they would frequent, or, you know, something that they would trust. Now, if they are your competitors, of course, I would be able to weight their answers compared to people who would benefit from your new business. But I'm getting off track. What I'm trying to say here is that the market knows better how to deal with these types of situations where you have people investing in banks that, or people putting their money in banks that are either an investment bank or a pure savings bank, or what we like to call a vault bank. Now, if the bank doesn't tell you that it's an investment bank, leads you to believe that they're a vault bank, but they are an investment bank, and then they lose your money, you have a right of recourse. And the bankers, the people who seem to be making money off of that, they should be held accountable. They should, if they have committed fraud, we have methods for dealing with fraud. And I do believe that a person who defrauds anybody should be responsible to pay, to return those people's money that they had gained through fraud. Now, so you basically liquidate all of their assets. Everything that you can find that's theirs, you liquidate it, and you repay the people that were defrauded as best as possible, and you put that person, depending on the number of frauds that he's committed, in jail. You know, so for every, you know, $1 million of fraud, they get 1 year in jail. So Bernie Sanders, no, not Bernie Sanders, Bernie Madoff, that's the guy. Bernie Sanders, yeah, the socialist. Maybe him too. Yeah, he's a big old fraud. But no, Bernie Madoff should be in jail for the rest of his life. So should his wife. Or at least his wife should have no assets whatsoever. And I think they actually did take everything from them. And that's the way it should be. But they should not only take everything from them, but anybody who profited in any way from the Bernie Madoff schemes should have all of their assets seized. So, except for the people that were just, you know, your standard investors. But even so, you know, it's up to the person who's doing business with a fraud to do their due diligence. You know, you don't just take people's word for it. It's due diligence is something that I have learned the hard way to do in business. Now, to be perfectly clear and to let everybody know, I trade in commodities. I buy and sell commodities. I buy things like coal and iron ore and copper ore and cotton seeds, and I sell them to China and Russia. And I buy coal from Russia and sell it to China. Now the Russians and the Chinese, they're, you know, despite this cushy relationship that is portrayed in the press, they really don't have that really cushy relationship. They're not very trusting of each other. And so we do business as middlemen. And it's funny. There's a Chinese mine, or a Russian mine, selling coal to a Chinese power company, and they're using an American businessman, moi, as their middleman. And I don't speak Russian, but I do speak Mandarin. And for all my Mandarin viewers, which there may be one, 我可以讲国语，可是我的国语不太好。普通话没有问题，可是有特别的话有很多的问题。But that was my little gift to you guys in Mandarin, and if you understand it, and if you don't worry about it. I just was saying that I can speak Chinese, but that I didn't say but you know, I just said, prefaced with I just said that average conversational Chinese is not a problem, but if we get into specialty language, then I have a problem. So I'm always in my conversations, especially when I'm talking with the energy people or other people that I'm selling stuff to, that I'm always interjecting English terms in there. But that's okay, because, you know, the funny thing is a lot of the technical terms in Mandarin are complicated words, or are sometimes can be misconstrued for something else. So they tend to inject, for technical language, they tend to inject English in there. You know, they'll say, they'll say stuff like, 这个电脑的 CPU, this computer's CPU, right? They won't say the Chinese, they'll say the English acronym, or the English, yeah, and that's just the way it is. So, back to what I was talking about, the government, what we're doing right now, the unemployment problem, the stuff that Demcad was talking about, Glass Steagall, regulations. Regulations are out of control in this country. And as a trader, as a trader of commodities, trying to move coal from the United States to China, I'm running into huge problems. The biggest problem is that we just don't have the terminal space for coal in this country that we need. Specifically, we don't have terminal space for what they call Cape-sized ships, 100,000 tons or above. And we need that because we're moving, 200 to 300 tons per month to China. And right now, all of the coal that we're moving is from Russia to China because we can't get any terminal space in this goddamn country. And it's all because of government regulations. It's all because of liberals who hate coal, who hate business, who want to put a stop to it. So they are blocking the building of new terminal space that would accommodate coal ships. They're blocking all of this. If we didn't have all these moronic regulations on us and all of this liberal activism against business, this deficit that they complain about, the trade deficit, we need to put tariffs on Chinese goods coming into the United States. These scumbags who talk like that, they need to be strung up. Because I'll tell you what, if we didn't have those guys blocking everything we were trying to do, the deficit would not be lopsided like it is. There wouldn't be this trade deficit, whereas we're buying more stuff from China than they're buying from us. It would be the other way around. They'd be buying more stuff. It'd be raw materials, for sure. But they'd be buying these raw materials from us. And, I'm an American businessman selling Russian coal to Chinese power plants. Come on. If you're smart, okay, you can do business. You can make money. The problem is that in this country, you have a bunch of people that are playing with the politics of envy. Yeah, I said it. There are people out there who are jealous of others who have wealth. And they look and they use this straw man argument. They put up the straw man Paris Hilton as the icon of wealth in this country. Well, she inherited her wealth. But so the fuck what? What business is of yours? That wealth was made legitimately. Okay? And there's a lot of wealth in this country that is made legitimately. People like me, working our asses off, going and visiting mines, doing the due diligence, and making sure, going to visit the power plants, going to visit the mines, going to visit the ports. The latest port that I had to go to was Vostochny near Vladivostok in Russia. It's just north of the Russian-North Korean border. To check out the facilities there and to make sure that the coal that we had ordered was moving smoothly, that there were no issues with any kind of export documents that might be missing or something like that. So I as the person who is responsible for creating these trades need to go out and make sure that these are done properly, and I need to go out and make sure that we are continually moving product so that our customers are happy. And this is why they trust us to do the job, because we make sure that it gets done. Now, back to what I was saying. There's a lot of people out there who are just, in my eyes, lazy. And there are a lot of people out there who are, in my eyes, purposely blocking commerce, purposely making commerce harder to do. And if I was to go out and try to get a job, it wouldn't be possible. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s. I have a lot of skills. I'm a very skilled IT person, and I did IT work for a long time. I also designed computers for a long time. But I did all of that while living over in Taiwan and China. And the thing is that here in the United States, they're hiring only younger people who are just out of university. But really, there's not a lot of new work in the IT field because the economy is so piss poor. I mean, I only got back to the States from living overseas in around 2007. And so since I got back here, I mean, I tried to get a job for a little while. I worked for Microsoft for a short while, but then they started laying off tons of people. So I lost my position at Microsoft. So for about 3 months, I actually tried to get a position, tried to get a job. But this was in 2008, and, the economy was collapsing at that point, and I couldn't get a job. So I started a business, and I'm glad that I did that, because if I didn't, who knows? I might be on the street. They don't stop taking taxes from you. I'm a property owner, by the way. And they don't stop taking taxes from you just because you don't have a job or you can't pay. They fine you. They come after you. And if I go more than 2 or 3 years without paying taxes, they're going to put a lien on my property, and they will eventually go to court to take my property from me. Private property ownership in this country is a joke. The government doesn't stop. They are seriously, they're ruthless scumbags, and most of them in the bureaucracies, are liberal. And this is another reason why we need to reduce the size of government. This is another reason why we need to get rid of all of these bureaucracies, these bureaus, these departments. The Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of the Commerce Department, the Department of Education. All of these, we need to get rid of them, both on the federal level and on the state level. We need to get rid of these departments, because what they are is they are these bureaucracies filled with loathsome people who either have a hard-on for power trips, or they really are these activists who don't like certain types of activities and they want to punish those types of activities. Coal mining, oil, we're talking energy sources that cannot be replaced right now. We can't do it. You know, I was watching somebody, you know, do a video on, oh, we really need to concentrate on alternative energy, and who was it? Let's see here. Pardon me while I do a stupid thing. Oh yeah, it was Green Wave TV, CG Green 34 or whatever. You can go look them up on YouTube. But he was talking about how, you know, this whole oil thing is a cabal, or how, you know, we need to, you know, that energy has been blocked by big oil or big natural gas or big coal, and that there are these inventions out there that have been suppressed, and the inventors have been killed, or, you know, whatever. And that's a bunch of bullshit. I've been in the energy business now for almost 4 years. I have done the research. I have done the work. I have worked with hydrogen fuel cells of all types, and the type of fuel cell that this and I don't remember his name, and I'm not going to go look it up right now, but the type of fuel cell that this guy created that was on this Green Wave TV, you know, he suggested that this type of fuel cell was revolutionary, and that it just took water and you could fuel your car on water and that kind of thing. Well, it's ridiculous. It does not work. The physics don't even work. And, you know, I have seen these, you know, like touched them and worked with them and seen how they work, and you know, these coils in water that they pulsate electricity through, and all it is electrolysis. Okay, all it is you're using an electrical current to break the bond between hydrogen and oxygen in the water. Now, I have a fuel cell that does the same thing, only my fuel cell separates cleanly the water or the hydrogen from the oxygen, so you don't have, you know, it has this barrier in the middle. This is a semi-permeable barrier that only one molecule can go through, one molecule can go through. Basically, it's the hydrogen molecule, not the atom. It's H2. Okay. So the hydrogen molecule can go through, but the oxygen molecule cannot go through this semi-permeable membrane. So the oxygen goes one way, and the hydrogen, the H2, goes another way. Now, in a really well-built enclosed system, you can get some pretty pure hydrogen, but you've got to run it through some filters just to make sure that you filter out the impurities, to make sure that you are filtering out any moisture. You want to dry it. You want it very dry, because when you use hydrogen, recombine hydrogen and oxygen in a fuel cell, the product of that is electricity and steam. A fuel cell creates heat. The process of the combining of oxygen and hydrogen and making water also creates a lot of heat and electricity, but that heat means that the combined hydrogen and oxygen come out as steam. Fuel cell vehicles have steam coming out of their pipes, their tailpipes, and not the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, with sulfur and some soot in it, exhaust out of a internal combustion vehicle. But what this guy was doing with his fuel cell was he was creating hydrogen from water and then running the hydrogen very unfiltered, not dried, into his vehicle with, you know, specially designed internal combustion vehicle that burnt hydrogen. Well, first of all, hydrogen burns really hot, so you're going to shorten the life of your internal combustion vehicle by burning hydrogen. Second, when you burn hydrogen, the act of burning this does create water. So you are going to not only shorten the lifespan of your vehicle, of the engine that has to burn the hydrogen, you're also going to rust everything out. Okay? Heat and water don't make good companions for steel. Okay? So, and we don't, you know, so these are the kind of things that they just don't tell you. And the thing is that you have to put more electricity into making hydrogen than the energy that you get out from recombining hydrogen, either by burning it or combining it in a fuel cell to make electricity or energy. So this is entropy, and this is physics, and for people who don't understand it, you just think that these guys can create these things. You think, well, they got a patent on it. It must work. patents don't mean that a product or an invention works. It just means that there's nothing else out there that is like it, or that they did their documentation enough that they cited all the other things, all the other inventions that would be a part of their invention in such a way, and the combination was done in such a way that it didn't infringe on anybody else's and proper attribution was given. So then the patent office goes through that and it says, okay, all the documents, all the documents and stuff are filled out properly. All the attributions are filled out properly. All the prior what they call I'm not going to do this one right either, but like prior inventions or prior intellectual property is cited and shown not to be used improperly, and if that's the case, a person is given a patent. Okay, but it doesn't mean that the product that they have patented, that they have invented, works, or that it does what it said, what the guy claims that it does, and it didn't. The thing is that that guy who had the car that he said that ran on water using electrolysis to split the hydrogen from the water, it did not work the way he said. He got sued and he lost in court because he really could not prove any of the claims that he was making. Now, there's another guy out there, and I think that this car is a far better example of what good engineering can do. And this has got, he's in France, I think, and he's got a car called the Air Car. Go look up the Air Car from France. And this vehicle runs on compressed air. Now, it can't carry a lot of weight. They're tiny little cars, and they're not really good for long hauls or carrying lots of stuff or going off-road or any of that kind of stuff. But for the little towns in Europe where they have really skinny little roads and they, exhaust can become, really damaging to all of the buildings, infrastructure, or facades and that kind of stuff, these air cars are a good example. Although I have some doubts as to what kind of hills they can handle and that kind of stuff. But for flat, these have a limited purpose, but at least those cars are can do what the guy claims that they can do. The problem is that all of these alternative energies, solar or wind, they are not meeting the requirements that we have out there for energy. And industry and business and your life requires energy. You're using a computer right now to view this video, and that requires energy. Okay, you got lights, you got video cameras, you've got your car that you drive to work in every day, or the bus that you take to go to work, or the light rail. Although light rail, what a frickin' joke. Light rail, if it was needed, would be built by the private sector. But the fact is it's not needed. We have light rail where I live, and I'm going to get off this but in a little bit here, but we have light rail where I live, and I was sitting there in a traffic jam on the highway because they won't expand the highway, but they'll spend billions on light rail, and the light rail train goes past us, and there are like 8 people in 4 cars, okay? 4 cars, it could probably carry 100 people in each car, and there were 8 people. I counted. I watched it drive past. It might have been a little more, but really it was like there were 1 or 2 people in each car. It was just stupid. It was unbelievable. We don't need light rail because we just need more roads or better roads. We have rivers and lakes that you could build tunnels underneath. We have these capabilities to do this. And if our government and our politicians would stop raiding the highway funds to, if they'd stop putting the gas tax, because this is the problem. We have the gas tax, right? And I'm willing to pay a gas tax for the maintenance of roads. I believe that would be a good thing. But unfortunately, they're putting the gas tax into the general fund, and then they're raiding the general fund for welfare, food stamps, and all this other crap. The gas tax should go into a single fund that its only purpose is to maintain roads. That's it. Otherwise, we shouldn't have a gas tax. It's all bullshit. But regulations, taxes, tariffs, and all of the petty bullshit that liberals are doing in this country are keeping us from being competitive. It's keeping us from selling things to other countries, especially like China. And, you know, you want the recession and the depression, now it's a depression, to stop. You want it to end. End regulation. End the Glass Steagall attempt. Let banks fail. Don't bail anybody out. If they make mistakes, let them fail. If they commit fraud, go after them. Stop it with all of this. We can prevent the fraud from happening in the first place. Impossible. That itself is fraud and is a lie. Anyways, I'm done. This is my business rant, and I hope that it's not too long or too boring for you. Keep strong and be ready, people, because the collapse, it's coming.